Hey guys, Otaku here. So Sprites just came out in Master Duel, so I decided to give you all a deck list. Sprites have been out in the TCG for a hot minute, and I've had plenty of experience going against them. I personally never played the deck prior to Master Duel, but the deck is extremely strong, and it plays through a lot of negation, and just still manages to set up very strong boards. So let's just jump right into it. To start, we run 3 Deep Sea Diva. This card is just extremely strong. You summon it, summons out another Deep Sea Diva, and then we just go into Spright Elf or Gigantic Spright. The deck is entirely just Rank 2 and Link 2 Turbo. And like I said, so you just summon this out and you get a free Link 2 or Rank 2, usually one of your 2 Spright monsters. Then we run the 3 Swap Frogs and a singular Ronin Tonin. Swap Frog, you summon it, and it manages to put in Ronin Tonin to the graveyard or another Swap Frog, and then Ronin Tonin, of course, is not a once per turn, so it can constantly recycle itself, be a free body for a Rank 2 or a Link 2, just constantly, like I said, recycling itself back onto the board. We, of course, run 2 Nimble Anglers. This card, its entire purpose is to go from the deck to the graveyard and then summon out the 3 Nimble Beavers. We run 3 Nimble Beavers in case we manage to draw one, and then we'll just normal summon it, and just like Deep Sea Diva, it'll summon out another Nimble Beaver, and like I said, go into a Rank 2 or a Link 2, most likely Gigantic or Elf. As for the sprites, we run 3 Spright Blue and 3 Spright Jet. The entire purpose is Spright Blue summons itself, searches out a Spright monster, usually being Jet, and then Jet can special summons itself, then search out a Spright Spell or Trap card, usually being Spright Starter. Of course, there are times that we can activate Spright Starter, go into Blue, go into Jet, go into Smashers. There's a multitude of things that you can go. We run 1 Spright Pixies. This card is basically just Honest, but in Spright form. Basically gives us a little extra protection in case our opponent decides to try to sweep over Spright Elf or Gigantic Spright, just giving us extra attack points so that way we are not going to be blown the fuck up by battle. I then also run 2 Spright Red and 2 Spright Carrot. This is basically our Spell and Trap and Monster Negates. Spright Red is our Monster Negate, and then Spright Carrot is our Spell and Trap Negates. They, of course, require a level, rank, or Link 2 monster other than themselves to be tributed to activate their effects to negate. So, of course, if these cards are alone on your board, they serve no good use. But the point here is that you activate Spright Elf, summon them back to the board, and most likely you have, like, 4 or 5 different monsters on the board that you contribute for Spright Carrot or Red's effect. As for hand traps, we run 3 Ash Blossom and 3 Infinite Impermanence. These cards are just very strong. Imperm being able to negate columns if it was originally set, but also being able to negate your opponent's monsters if you have no cards on your board. Just a really good way to start off your turn or slow your opponent's turn down. And then, of course, Ash Blossom being arguably the best hand trap in Master Duel and possibly even the TCG. I do run 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. I had a single flex spot in the deck, and because Runic and Labyrinth are so prevalent in Master Duel, I felt Harpy's Feather Duster was really strong just to have that extra back row removal. But like I said, this is only in here mainly because I had a flex spot. I run 1 Foolish Burial. There's a lot of different things that you can target with this. You can target one of the frogs, you can hit Ronin Tonin, you can hit Nimble Angler to summon out the beavers, you can even hit one of your sprites, so that way Elf can summon it back to the board. There's 1,000 different things you can summon or send to the graveyard with this effect, just based off of the situation. We also run 3 Triple Tactic Talents. This card is just insanely good, especially now that sprites are in the game, and like we're already in a meta where your opponent's activating monster effects on your turn. So to be able to retaliate by drawing 2 cards or even stealing one of their monsters just for a little extra gas to make up for the disruption that they most likely did on you, this card is just very strong. Then we run 1 Pause Prosperity. This is just to add a little extra consistency in case you don't get a really good hand. You can, of course, excavate and hopefully search out a Spright card or just a card that's going to bail you out of a really bad hand, make a bad hand better. I then also run 1 Called by the Grave. You can run 2 because it is semi-limited in Master Duel, unlike the limit in the TCG. I only have 1 in Master Duel. If I had the second one, if I had enough UR points to craft the second one, I'd probably just get rid of Harpy's Feather Duster, throw in the other one. This card is just a basically dodge hand traps. This deck is hurt a lot by just getting hit with Ash Blossom or Infinite Impermanence because you want your Spright Blue and your Spright Jet and even your Spright Starter to go off, be able to summon out monsters to build a bigger board, and if you get ashed on just about any of those, it's going to hurt a lot. So Called by basically is just going to help you dodge hand traps. And because they pre-semi-limited it before the cards even came out, we only run 2 Spright starters. If this was the TCG, you would run 3. But this card, as the name implies, it is a starter. It starts your combo. If you don't have a very good hand, you just activate this, summon out blue, go jet, build your board. Like I said, we only run the 2 because the game will only let us play 2. And then we run 2 Spright smashers. If we were able to run 3 starters, I'd get rid of one of the smashers, mainly just because smasher is searchable via jet. But this card is extremely good. It's able to banish out one of your Spright monsters, or just level, rank, or link 2 monsters from your graveyard, and banish one of the cards on that your opponent controls. It's just a very strong card. Moving on to the extra deck, we run 1 number 65 Djinn Buster. This is just another monster negate that will not require you to remove a monster on the board like Spright Red, while also at the same time burning your opponent for a little bit of damage. The card itself is not very strong, being only 1,300 attack points, but it does help with that monster negation. And then you can also use this to go into Spright Elf after it has already expended its effect. 1 Sky Cavalry Centauria. This card, just basically we use it if we're in a really bad spot. We use it to just send stuff back to our opponent's hand because it can't be destroyed by battle, so then we battle a monster. If we do end up taking damage, it's a small price to pay for possibly removing that really strong monster off the board and back to our opponent's hand or even extra deck. We run 1 Cat Shark. This card is mainly just for the interaction with Spright Gigantic, because Spright Gigantic does gain attack points if it has a link to monster as a material. But then Cat Shark can also activate its effect to double his attack. He can get close to like 6,000 attack points with Cat Shark's effect and his own effect. So this card doesn't see play every duel, but it can be there if you want to go for like a really good OTK. 1 number 29 Mannequin Cat. This card's mainly here for the mirror match. If you go against another Spright deck, you can summon this out, summon out a monster on your opponent's board from their graveyard, and then you can summon out another monster with the same attribute or type onto your board, just to hopefully help you get gas without hopefully giving them gas. And then we run 2 Gigantic Spright. Like I said, this card can use Link 2s as Xyz material, not just level 2s. But this card is just very strong. It's a very good nib counter because you detach material and then your opponent can't summon stuff, or neither of you can summon stuff that are higher than level 2 for the rest of the duel. For the rest of the turn, not the rest of the duel. So basically, if you make this like your 3rd or 4th summon, you can activate it, and then Nibiru cannot be activated by your opponent, and then you can just continue comboing off on your turn. And then we run 1 Downward Magician and 1 Zeus. It's mainly an Xyz deck, so of course we're going to run a Downward Magician and a Zeus. We can get anywhere from like a material 3 or 4 Zeus with this deck, especially if you go into Downward Magician. So like I said, you'd be dumb not to be running Zeus. And since Gigantic can use your Link 2s as materials, we have mainly just Link 2 monsters, Nightmare Phoenix, IP Masquerena, Dark, and 2 Spright Elves. We run the Phoenix just for extra back row pop, the IP for a little extra disruption. We can activate its effect on our opponent's turn, link it off into Nightmare Unicorn, and then send something on our opponent's board back to his deck. Dark is mainly if we're going against, it's here for like kind of the mirror match, but also we can use it against stuff like Branded, mainly because we're just in a dark heavy meta, but mainly because Gigantic Spright and Spright Blue are both dark, and so is Spright Jet. So like I said, you just summon this out, steal something from your opponent's graveyard, and then we can just keep going off from there. The 2 Spright Elf, you can run 3. I personally prefer 2. Spright Elf is just is a way too strong card. There's a reason that it got banned in the TCG. It's not just a Spright card. It's a generic Link 2. You can use it in any deck, but you can just summon this out, bring a Link 2 from the graveyard, even on your opponent's turn, or sorry, not Link 2, a level 2 from your graveyard, even on your opponent's turn, and just kind of keep going. So usually the combo here is that like Spright Red and Carrot are in your graveyard, and then based on the situation, you can summon them out, and then use their effects to hopefully slow your opponent down. Like I said, we run a Nightmare Unicorn. Nightmare Unicorn and Phoenix are mainly here for like Pot of Prosperity fodder. We very rarely actually summon these monsters, but they are there depending on the situation. And then I run a Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax. You can run Axis Code Talker, I found more consistency with Avramax, mainly just because we summon him out. He can't be targeted by my opponent's effects, and he also, gains the attack of the monsters he's battling. Just kind of helps you beat over just about everything. Just a overly strong card, and since it can't be targeted, there's a lot of stuff in like the mirror match that can't touch this card, but also there's a lot of stuff in like branded minus Mirror Jade that can't hit this. There's just a lot of stuff that this card dodges right now that Axis Code Talker can't really touch. But that is it for my Master Duel Spright deck profile. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and hit that bell button for notifications on future videos. And let me know if you want to see any more deck profiles. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!